Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming to our Feed Your Mind webinar series. This project is funded in part by the Pfizer Foundation through Grant Makers on Aging. This is part of the National Community Agenda Project. We also are very thankful for our other supporters such as the Virginia G. Piper Charitable Trust here locally. So thank you so much. We have this series on the first Friday of every month at noon. So please feel free to log on next month and see our webinar on managing relationships with your adult children. So that will be a great session offered by Dr. Ed Perrin. Many thanks to IOR Primary Care for connecting us with Dr. Perrin. That will be November 7th on that Friday, again starting right at noon. If you would like to submit questions, please do so in the lower right-hand corner, the chat box. You can put in your questions there. We will be answering those at the end of the webinar series at about 10:01 p.m. And if you visit www.connect60plus.com, you can view our previous webinars as well. They are all archived, as this one will be very soon. For the first time, we'll be sending out a short survey. We really appreciate any feedback that you can give to us to help us strengthen this webinar series. Also, if you have ideas for different presenters or topics that you'd like to see covered by the series, please do feel free to let us know at any time. You can contact us here at MAG at 602-254-6300. Thank you again for coming in and joining us today. If you do need assistance during the call, please do call that number, 602-254-6300, for technical assistance, and we would be more than happy to help you. Today, our topic is creative aging, and we're very excited today to bring three speakers to share their insights with you about creative aging and how we can all be strengthened by this process. Our first speaker today will be Michelle Dionisio. She is the CEO and President of Benevilla. Michelle, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very nice to be here. And creative aging is a new trend, a new thing that's coming out. It had been bubbling up in the 70s, in the 1970s, but most recently the launch of the National Center for Creative Aging really has brought this whole movement to the forefront. So what I would like to do is start by talking about what is this all about? What is creative aging all about? And if you were to look at some of the different definitions that are out there, the National Center for Creative Aging actually has a definition. They say it's that they're dedicated to fostering an understanding of the vital relationship between creative expression and the quality of life for older persons. In Cincinnati, they say creative aging provides programs that stimulate thought and creativity, provide learning opportunities, help people to laugh and enjoy themselves and stay connected to the outside world, as well as interact with people of all ages. Programs are like this are springing up all over the globe, and there's even a program, Arts and Health, in Australia, and they're doing a lot of networking and advocacy around this whole area to improve the health and well-being of all of those living in community through engaging in creative activities. So it is something that you will find throughout the United States. Many of the states are actually starting their own creative aging programs. I know there's some in Indiana, some in New York, some in California. It's just, it's all over the United States. So the question comes up is, why now? And I think when we look at the demographic changes that are happening, and especially with the baby boomers being the biggest group coming through, and knowing that the life expectancy for a person who is 65 today can be an additional 20 years from now. So our country, as it's the graying of America, we're seeing that people are living longer, well into their 80s and up into their hundreds, and they are remaining active and healthy. And so this is creative aging is such an important part in helping people age healthy and successfully through those years. The baby boomer generation, as you know, if you think about in their heyday, when they were in their teens and early adulthood, they've always been about creative expression. They had opportunities to really push the envelope, so to speak. So they especially are, I think, more demanding of this whole notion of self-fulfillment with creative expression. The other phenomena that's happening is that the 85 and older population is really growing. That's the biggest segment of growth that we're seeing in the United States. And many, again, are likely to be living with dementia or other neurological diseases or disorders that actually are leading to the need to expand the health and aging services. So when we look at that, it's especially important that we look at creative ways to be able to meet the needs of these populations, folks who are dealing with these different chronic disorders. One of the things that I think is really exciting is a social worker back in the 1970s, Susan Pearlstein, was very active in really bringing the arts to the forefront back in the 70s. She is the founder of Elder Share the Arts, which is a wonderful nonprofit out of New York, Brooklyn, New York, and the National Center for Creative Aging. She was responsible for working with other professionals in the field to put together this Center for Creative Aging. And the reason for that was she saw that there was a need to really dismantle the stereotypes that we typically see with making art with older adults, and that we had to find ways to be more effective in our approaches and ways to enhance quality of life for older adults and improve their health. So Susan has been really one of the first people to really push the envelope in this area. And so we're going to go to the slide, the first slide, which talks about research. And if we can switch that over. Okay. So the research actually that has been done recently, in 2006, Dr. Jean Cohen conducted a study that was co-funded by the NEA and the National Institute for Mental Health that measured the impact of professionally conducted arts programs on the physical, mental, and social functioning of older adults. And the intervention group reported better overall physical health, fewer doctor visits, less medication use, fewer incidences of falls, and fewer health problems in relation to that comparison group. So he was one of the very first that did this research to demonstrate, how important the arts are in helping older adults improve quality of life, improve their wellness, and such. Another study that was done was Madeline Hackney and her colleagues in 2007 did a study that looked at whether the functional mobility benefits of a tango dancing program could improve the physical function of patients with Parkinson's disease. And the results of that study showed the group improved on all measures of balance, gait, and falls. And then the last study that I'd like to cite is in 2004, Helga and Tony Noyce investigated the effects of theatrical training on the cognitive function and quality of life. And their results revealed that theater intervention groups actually scored significantly higher on the recall and problem solving and psychological well-being. So it clearly is starting to show, with all the research that's going on in the United States and worldwide, that time and time again we're finding that the arts are playing a significant role in improving quality of life and the general health and well-being of individuals.
And one of the white papers that we wanted to bring to your attention that synthesizes some of that research Michelle was just talking about, this is Alex Nelson, by the way, from the Arizona Commission on the Arts, is called The Arts and Human Development. And this white paper showcases some of the nation's most compelling studies and evidence-based programs that have identified cognitive, social, and behavioral outcomes from arts interventions.
It was published by the National Endowment for the Arts and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And it actually looks at arts interventions across the age spectrum, but some of the key highlights that we've included here were related to the studies that looked at arts programs for older adults. So at the top you have the Cohen report that Michelle was just mentioning, and also another key highlight was from a study that found that older adults participating in a structured theatrical intervention significantly improved in 4 cognitive measures when compared to the control group: immediate word recall, problem solving, verbal fluency, and delayed recall. And finally, another key highlight from this white paper was related to a study that found that older adults with Alzheimer's disease and those with related dimensions who participated in a creative storytelling intervention became more engaged and more alert than those in a control group. And in addition, there were more frequent staff-resident interactions, peer social interactions, and social engagement in facilities using the creative storytelling intervention. That's just a great sort of compendium of research that's a resource out there in the field.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex. And so when we look at creative aging, we look at, okay, what ways can it be delivered? And for one, is through lifelong learning. Teaching artists and instructors that provide opportunities for self-discovery, increased knowledge and mastery, and connection with others are all the ways in which lifelong learning enables people to do this. Many times this is offered through community arts programs, community colleges, and universities. Another way in which this can be delivered, the creative aging, can be delivered in intergenerational settings like school programs, community centers, neighborhood programs like community gardens, or congregational programs. In addition, creative aging is starting to kind of penetrate also through different healthcare settings, retirement and assisted living communities, senior centers, adult day programs, long-term care facilities. There are so many ways that we can get this creative aging program throughout the community and meeting so many different people's needs. So one of the things about what we see in the outcomes when we use creative aging programming, for one, we're finding that adults are more socially engaged. They're really getting to meet new friends, finding people with similar interests. They have a sense of empowerment and control. This is something that they can control for themselves. It's not something that's being done to them. They exercise their bodies and brains to ensure high physical and cognitive functioning, and that is very important as we're getting older. And then they have the reduced risk factors for disease, disability, and have improved health. I think one of the things that I see when I work with older adults is that they have a positive attitude when they're doing the arts in whatever way, and a zest for life. It kind of helps them come alive and bring up memories of the past that they may have been involved in the arts, and kind of brings them back to a really great place. It also gives them a chance to express themselves creatively. You know, going through the life course, you know, being able to express where you are right now and do it in different formats, whether it's through painting or it's through movement or it's through music. These are all wonderful tools to enable older adults to be able to express themselves. Okay, so what I'd like to do is share a little bit about Benevilla, the organization in which I lead. As a community-based health and human service organization in the Northwest Valley, we serve thousands of older adults and their families, and we recognize the importance of the arts for our community's health and well-being. We incorporate arts into our bistro, which is a social enterprise that we have in Surprise, as a place for people to access arts and celebrate the talents and skills of the local residents. We have regular artist receptions and shows, and as the artist today, Shirley Cunningham, her art is currently on display at Bert's Bistro. And then local musicians get to perform twice a week at Bert's After Hours. And then we offer art programs and discussion groups. So it's really giving opportunity for exposure to the arts where people may not always have that opportunity. And it's all basically free because it's in this restaurant setting. As a matter of fact, one of the things we've done is last year we kicked off the first ever Memory Arts Bistro in Arizona, where local residents who have been diagnosed with dementia and their caregivers come for an interactive arts experience that is led by professional teaching artists. In fact, this Thursday, October the 9th, a nationally known teaching artist, Judith Kate Friedman, who designed the Songwriting Works Foundation, will kick off our series, our 2014-15 series, and the public is invited. So if you need more information, you can check our website, and it's www.benevilla.org. In addition, Benevilla actually has 6 life enrichment centers that provide numerous opportunities for art, wellness, and lifelong learning classes. We offer art classes, dance and movement, poetry, drumming sessions, and we partner with many local arts organizations such as Theater Works, WHAM, and the West Valley Arts Council to help maximize the arts experience for our members. That is really important. I think to take away from this whole experience is that all of us in our community have a wide array of arts opportunities. There's a diverse amount of people out there that provide art or that they're art venues. And with a little research, I think everyone can find a place, find an arts partner, or an enthusiast to get engaged in the arts. So these are all wonderful ways to kind of extend yourself out there and be able to connect in some art form. And so some of the best practices that I would like to kind of share, and I'm just going to show some slides of some of the Memory Arts Bistro activities and life enrichment programs we've had. We've had volunteer artists come in who do ikebana and actually worked with our folks on creating wonderful flower arrangements with vegetables, herbs, and flowers. And this is just some of that. Poetry and play and using puppetry. We've been able to do such a combination of activities to really bring out the expression for everyone in terms of the arts. Painting and drawing. We have a number of local artists who come in and are artists in residence at our local life enrichment centers and actually help teach painting and drawing and give people that opportunity. So nationwide, I do want to share some of the best practices and resources that are out there is the Alzheimer's Poetry Project. Gary Glasner is the founder of that project, and he is known internationally in his work. Elders Share the Arts is another wonderful best practice in the field. Time Slips, and then the Stage Bridge Theater for older adults, as well as Bodywise, Dance, and Pregonis Theater. There's many, many others, but these are just some of the highlights of the national best practices there are in creative aging. And now I would like to turn this next segment over to Alex and Shirley to learn more about how Shirley cultivates her creativity and more.
Thank you, Michelle. So as I mentioned, I'm Alex Nelson. I am the Director of Arts Learning at the Arizona Commission on the Arts. The Arts Commission is a state government agency whose mission is to ensure that all Arizonans can experience and participate in the arts. To that end, we offer grants and programs and services that support the statewide arts and culture sector, as well as artists, teaching artists, and arts and culture organizations. As the Director of Arts Learning, we have a lifelong learning mission at the Arts Commission. So our programs and grants and services work to support lifelong learning in the arts in a variety of settings and formats. And I'm really very pleased to be chatting with Shirley Cunningham right now. Shirley, we're just going to ask you a couple of questions about how you cultivate your own creative practice. And I'm going to start off by asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and your experience in the arts.
Thank you. I love to have an opening to talk about these matters. Actually, a point that Michelle made a few minutes ago applies to me, that it really began in childhood for me. I had a very nurturing grandmother, and every picture that I ever drew, I showed her, and she would praise that picture. And not only that, she took time to draw little birds for me. That was the beginning. Then I became a little bit older. She played the piano by ear, as did my other grandmother. I didn't have any gifts in that department, although my father aspired that for me and inflicted piano lessons on me for a long time. But finally, I realized that my two grandmothers were very creative, and I took this in. I was a great reader. I was an imaginative child. That was in the background. So what happens in childhood can come up in our work as we're more mature. And for me, it took me a long time to get in touch with that creative inner child. So it's been a long road of creativity beginning in childhood, really.
That's fabulous.
And going on from there, and in school I had opportunities, Michelle mentioned this too, the dramatic arts. Got the opportunity to be in plays when I was in high school, and I wasn't a real happy kid in my home life, as many people weren't. And when I got on that stage, I forgot everything. I forgot my shyness, I forgot my problems, I was in another world. I was in the zone, and I found out at a young age that art could take me there. And that's an important piece too. So all the times of our life, we can go into that zone and reclaim earlier experiences in our life. And that becomes then related to writing, because one of the things that Michelle mentioned was life review and gathering together things that people are in their advanced years perhaps are beginning to forget. But it's possible to recapture that, and that's a task of later life emotional health, to integrate all of those parts. And so the arts can come in there too, with writing and journaling, creating your autobiography. And this is not a new idea. A wonderful book called From Aging to Saging was written some years ago, proposing that life review work. So that's a few things about how my life experiences have led me on this path. And I do think that originally as a girl, I read fairy tales, and I was entranced by that. What I really wanted to know was, what is that magic place inside each one of us that allows us to create? Got 2 degrees in English literature, listening to find out what this creative person had inside of themselves. What was that spark? And it was about character development, and it was about the plot, and it was about the setting, and the historical setting. That wasn't really what I wanted. But finally, many years later, I got interested in psychology, and now I was onto it. It was the dreams. I took a course in fairy tales and folklore, and I realized these same stories were told in all different cultures, all different times and places. It's the lost child, or the evil mother. Those archetypes were there in all of those places. And then later, I discovered Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth. And of course, he's jumping off from Jungian psychology that thinks we've all got all of this inside of ourselves. We have archetypes, and we have something common, all of us together, common understanding. So then I was really launched. So psychology, the art, the writing, the literature, just all comes together in a beautiful way. So what's the value of art? Have I said enough?
Well, actually, you set me up for the next question perfectly. So in your own experience, or in the experience that you've had teaching classes and working with other learners, other artists, why do you think that the arts and creative expression are important for quality of life?
Well, life history again. My father died when I was 19. I wanted to go to school to study journalism. I didn't really want to write for a newspaper. I realized later when that couldn't happen. But it began at that point of disappointment. How do I deal with it? Well, later in life, there came a point where there wasn't anything really wrong in my marriage and my work, but I was just in a black place. Well, of course, I'm a psychotherapist, so I tried to find somebody to talk to, and it just didn't work. I couldn't connect with anyone. So finally, I thought I'm going to take matters into my own hands. Now, here's a piece about creativity. We think about our options. If there's one door closed, we look to see a door that's open and go through that one and believe that life will lead us then. Okay. So anyway, I started to write my furthest back memories from what I knew about my grandparents on both sides. I wrote all of that. My feelings about experiences I could remember. Then I did the same thing with my parents. Went as far as I could go. Then I started on myself. My earliest memories all the way up year by year by year. This took a while. But what happened was when I got to about age 13 with that process, I realized this blackness had lifted. And I didn't know then that psychologically most of the emotional things that we struggle with had come from somewhere in childhood. So I had therapized myself and I didn't even know it. Well, then I took training. Ira Progoff, a psychiatrist who teaches the use of journaling. And I started, this is a long ago, teaching journaling classes for years because I saw that it helped me. And I knew that if we could ventilate some of these things that we needed to ventilate in a safe way, it doesn't have to be a psychiatrist. Your little journal can be your shrink. So I realized it there. And later in life, I had a very, very painful divorce. The arts helped me go through that with my journaling work, my dream work. I learned how to do that as a therapist, but I used my own dreams because they were there all the time, and they're always there. And then later about with breast cancer. And at that point, I had sort of a creative explosion. And I really got in touch with this little girl inside, the little girl artist that had always been kept. I have other important things to do. I can't do that. And she wanted to break out. And she really did. So I think there is another part for people to realize we've all got that little inner child that wants to create, that wants to play. And if we can let her out, there's going to be a beautiful outcome.
Thank you so much for sharing those personal experiences, Shirley, when you mentioned that creativity is about when one door closes, finding another door or window or tunnel or whatever.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think that speaks so elegantly and in your experiences, it really illustrates the power of creativity to build up our resiliency and our motivation, which we know is something that can be very challenging as we age and we start dealing with more loss and grief. And so thank you for sharing those beautiful life experiences.
You're most welcome.
The next question that I wanted to ask you, which you've touched on a little bit, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about how the role of creativity in your life has changed throughout its different stages.
Well, we've just seen a wonderful series on PBS on the Roosevelts, and Eleanor was not quoted, but I heard this quote from her many years ago, actually when I was working in the jail. I was very overwhelmed by my job. Someone found me working at 7 o'clock at night and said, "What are you doing here?" I have a 7-year-old child at home and a whole life, and wanted to send me home. And this person said to me, listen, this is Eleanor Roosevelt. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. And with that, he kicked me out of the door. But I think that's the answer for different times in life, whatever I'm dealing with. And yes, there are challenges as we move along life's paths. I mentioned a couple: health, relationship, and in our maturity. In my practice, I've done a lot of workshops. Why? Because some issues are coming to me through my clients. Midlife was a big one that started some years ago. I thought, I'm hearing this, I'm going to create a workshop on that, as I was in it myself. Every minute, we're always at a place we've never been before. So how do we know what to do? We don't. But being together with others and sharing, here's the intergenerational piece too that Michelle mentioned. Gave one workshop for women. I had a woman in her 20s, one in her 30s, one in her 40s, one in her 50s, one in her 60s, one in her 70s, one in her 80s. The woman who was in her 80s was there because of the anniversary of the death of her husband. The sharing in that group was phenomenal. because there were people all at different places in their lives, and the older women felt so validated by the attention and the presence of the younger women, and the younger women felt cheered up that their elders had lived through all of the things they were going through and survived. So there are different places along the path, and I think the sharing in the group helps a great deal when you're with some of your peers on both ends of the continuum, and you realize there's a thing of value here that's being acknowledged, and it's our human existence, our individuality, and that needs to be affirmed with people in all age groups. And our culture is not very age friendly. There's a need for this work. So to overcome those stereotypes and know that that spark is in every single person, and I create environments to release it. And I've seen it with clients. I had a woman come into this Trust Your Creativity the last time I taught it. First day, she came up to me immediately and announced, "I am not creative." Okay, well, we'll just start. So we went through the workshop. The last session happened to be right before the holidays. This woman came and she had a great big tray full of Christmas cookies, and they were all different. Everyone was different. So that was her creativity, and we had to say, well, now how do you feel about it? So just recognizing our lives are our work of art, and there are many ways to be creative. But it's really great to do it with a pen, with color, with images, with music, with sound, with movement, all of those ways, writing.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does your creative practice look like now?
Well, it's taking over my life. I didn't really plan this, but that's how my life goes. You know, there's a poster of an opera singer with her arms out like this and a great big long sleeve sort of thing. And the title said, you see a hand going in under one of her sleeves. And the slogan on there says, "Expect the unexpected." And that's kind of, I think, how my life has been. And I think that is true of most of us, that we just have to expect the unexpected. So my practice is I turn on nice music when I'm in my home at all times. Classical, Wyndham Hill, Lorena McKinnock, James Galway, I don't care what it is, flutes, I like that. Just play it, just play it. I do watch the news, but it's not on all the time. I don't turn on the television, honestly, because I need my inner world. And I know it's there, I tend to the outer world, but I want to stay in balance. Mm-hmm. That's one thing I do. And when I said life, my art has taken over my life, I have a 3-bedroom house, a little tiny house. One bedroom was for my grandkids to come and visit. I really needed space for my art. So little by little by little, I sort of crept into that room. And my grandkids are little, and they like to sleep with grandma anyway. So pretty soon, the daybed left, and now that room is my art room. And I'm telling you, that art room is packed. If I had known you were going to put any of my images up, I'd have sent you a picture of one of the walls, because everything has a significance. I almost brought some images along. Some image catches me, I'm going to stick it up on that wall, live with it. Pretty soon I'll understand why. And that's where the archetypes come in. And that's where the creative thing can happen for all of us. Just kind of keep noticing what catches you. Did I give you enough?
Yeah, absolutely. So can I throw you a question that was a little unplanned?
Sure.
You mentioned the woman in one of your classes. You said, "I'm not creative at all," and then came in with the beautifully decorated, all different kinds of cookies. What are some ideas or thoughts that you might want to share with our attendees today about, for those of us who just think we're really not creative, or like for myself, I'm not a visual artist. Like, we all have that thing where we're like, no, I can't. Do you have any thoughts or ideas for people to get those?
I have remedies for people who break out in a rash. When you say
exactly.
Write poetry, journals, paint, I have remedies for that. What it is you've got to just do it without noticing you're doing it. Okay? So you get your magic markers or your paint or whatever you've got, and you put the piece of paper down there, and then you can reach them, you know where they are. You don't even look. You can just kind of know, I've got this stuff here, and just kind of do this. Put your fingers in it and smear it around, and just trust what that's going to be. Then pick it up and look at it. It's like scribble drawing. Or you can turn it this way or upside down. Or even, was doing one painting, and it was such a disaster. I let it sit overnight, it got too much juice. And I thought, I can never do anything with this. I turned it over. There was stuff on the other side that had spilled out and was on the sheet underneath. That was the one I could work with. So just trust it. And a little exercise you could use. Anything that's got images in it, magazine, newspaper, cold calendars, anything that you've got, that stuff that comes in the mail. Just cut pieces of paper about the size of your palm that have got color on it, mostly. A few words are okay. But just do maybe 10 or 12 of those. Then get your newspaper and fold it out so it's half the size. You can do this at home with nothing. If you've got flour and water, you can make paste. You can get a little bit of some kind of a glue stick, staple, tape, doesn't matter what. Just play with those. Just stick them on there in different ways. And you're going to get ideas. So not to tell yourself, I don't know how, because you do know how. You knew how when you were 3 years old. And that little girl inside will help you if you ask her. So ask her, come on, help me play with this. And when you get going with it, whatever your idea is, just do it. If you've got a marker, you want to add color, do that. But there's no way to make a mistake. You have permission for bad art. It's for you.
That's brilliant. I love that, Shirley. And I mean, that's really a great exercise. I mean, just like doing the crossword every day, we have to exercise our creativity and practice and to get all of those great cognitive
This is the difference
benefits.
between art and science. We don't tell you, don't do this at home. Science says, don't do it at home. Don't try it, but I say you do.
Would you also mind maybe talking to the group a little bit about maybe how to get started journaling? I mean, you talked about what a huge impact that was
Yes.
in your life, and I know for some of us, we're just hesitant to put pen to paper. So what are some ideas that you have for getting started, and how do we kind of explain the impact of that to others?
Well, the beginning point is this, journaling, yes. I have a definition. It's the relationship between the inner world and the outer world and a record of their conversation with each other, the world of events, and other people. Now, I don't have any business as a psychologist if that all gets solved, because those are the reasons people show up in my office. Somebody is driving me crazy, or something's inside of me, or I'm really, 911, I was sitting in my office. Did that impact a lot of people? That's all I heard all that day long, and I hadn't seen the news. So that's the beginning. Now, the thing is, judgment. Never mind who's going to see this. You can tear that up if you want to. In fact, I got a little prayer for somebody that's worried about it. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, throw my journal in the lake. Get somebody on deck. Because it's just for you. It's just for you. I started when I was a little kid. I had a little diary smaller than this that had a lock. It was a 5-year diary, and you could write about that much, 3 or 4 lines every day. Well, it got me in the habit. That's what really happened. And I still have that little diary, by the way. Don't ask me. It crushes on boyfriends, 10 years old.
Do you have somebody set up to throw it in the lake?
Well, I'm coaching my son. So that's the beginning, to just start. And the thing is, if you start, it may expand on you. Because what you attend to, that'll grow. And what you don't attend to, it'll whizzle up. So you don't want it to whizzle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, thank you so much for answering these questions and sharing your experiences and tips. We wanted to take just a couple minutes at this point in our presentation to actually show you one of Shirley's works. Shirley is prolific, I was learning, and she has so many beautiful images on her website, and we'll actually share that with you a little bit later when we talk about some resources. But we pulled out this one image to have up on the slides for you to see while we asked Shirley to lead us through a brief meditation exercise so that you have Shirley described a couple of things, but now you can experience something that you can take away and have in your pocket as a tool for using throughout your days. So I'm going to scooch over here and turn it over to Shirley.
Thank you. So this is an invitation to make the link between your outer world and your inner world. It's very safe. It'll be relaxing. And all you need to do is just listen and breathe. And if you like, you can close your eyes. It's an option. Most of us who are artists are very visual. You'll know. So just taking a couple of deep breaths. And just imagine that lovely, cool, refreshing air going deep down within you, maybe to your toes. And taking a moment to release it now. A slow breath in, a slow breath out. No special effort, just in a way that feels natural to you. And as you begin to release and relax, very simply, you can begin to notice that there seems to be a rather strong and lovely light deep within you. And just notice that, perhaps in your heart center, that dear friend that's been busy serving you since before you were born. And as you get in touch with that, you can just imagine a lovely, warm, golden light beginning to fill you. And as it does, in a moment, it seems to begin to surround you as well. You take it in with great enjoyment. And in a moment, it's as though you're on a lovely path and you look down before your feet. You see the dappled shadows and sunshine dancing on this path. And you realize there's a gentle movement of the breeze. And looking overhead, you see the greenery shifting, dancing, peaks of blue sky coming through. And you're delighted. You begin to follow this path, noticing the fragrance, perhaps fresh cut grass, maybe the sound of running water nearby. And in a moment, you notice a house ahead of you. And there's something that invites you about this house. Maybe familiar, perhaps one you've never seen. And as you approach, you wonder about visiting. You step up to the front door, and as you touch it, it gently swings open, revealing the interior. You step in, noticing textures, colors, light, shadow. And as you're there, taking it in, you notice fragrance of fresh baked bread. Stepping another step further in, you can see a window in the kitchen, curtain fluttering in a breeze, and bird sounds just outside. And there's a figure there, someone you know perhaps, perhaps not. Very welcoming, comforting, and safe. You greet each other, and in a moment, you know that you have captured something special. You turn, waving your goodbye, approach the door, step through, looking back over your shoulder one last time. Find yourself on the sunlit path. And it only takes you a moment, but knowing you can return here and enter more deeply and more easily than before, you follow your path and come back into your outer world. Now know that you can capture these images in your journal, in color, in lines, in images, in your own way. There's no mistake about it. So enjoy.
Thank you, Shirley. So thank you so much for sharing that exercise with us as well. You know, we are going to conclude our presentation by sharing some resources, some outer world resources with you, but I love that we were also able to give you a tool for just practicing creativity and connecting to your inner world every day. You know, you don't have to be a prolific artist like Shirley to be a creative person. So as I mentioned, we were just going to go through a couple of lifelong learning and creative aging resources to wrap up today. This first batch are some in-person and online resources for continued lifelong learning. The ASU Osher Lifelong Learning Institute is a great resource, and they have lifelong learning institutes at all of the ASU campuses around the valley. The Rio Salado College Lifelong Learning Center is actually right next door to Benevilla, to Michelle, out in Surprise. And we wanted to also include the Open Yale Courses and Open Education Consortium as two fantastic online repositories of all kinds of courses. So whatever your interest is, whether it's arts or science or literature or any other topic, there's a great wealth of online classes that you can engage in, and it's just an excellent way to continue your own lifelong learning process. Did either of you want to add anything about those?
TED Talks are another online resource.
I didn't, but yes, Michelle said that TED Talks are another fantastic online resource, and I absolutely have to agree. Those are always inspiring and get my gears turning. And we actually have all of these resources in a PDF document with hyperlinks that will be sent out to participants today along with that survey. So you can have those links at your fingertips and not have to be writing furiously. Finally, we wanted to give you some information about some local arts resources that might be of interest. The first one is Artability, and this is a program of an organization called VSA Arizona. And VSA is actually a national organization run out of the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts that is focused on the arts and disability. And there's a state affiliate in, not every state, but quite a few, and we are very lucky to have a state affiliate here in Arizona. They have a lot of different programs, but this Artability program is a program where they work with arts organizations to ensure that their facilities are accessible in a myriad of different ways. And they actually, on their website, through Artability, provide an online listing of accessible performances and events. So you can go to one place online and see when a particular arts organization is having an ASL interpreted event, or is having making sure that there are large programs available, or that kind of thing. So I think that's just a great resource to keep in mind. Of course, there's Bert's Bistro, Benevilla, which Michelle mentioned earlier. Dance for PD is actually a national program as well within teachers learning about the techniques and then bringing them back to wherever they're based. So it's a program of the Mark Morris Dance Company, and it's dance classes for people with Parkinson's disease. There are a couple of classes here in Arizona. In that document I mentioned, we have a link to where you can find out about classes. There are some here in the Valley. I think there's a class just getting started up in Flagstaff. So, and there will, there are more added as more people go through the training. The Herberger Lunchtime Theater, if you're familiar, the Herberger Theater is one of our largest theaters downtown here in Phoenix, and they do every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday a lunchtime dance or one-act play performance. It lasts about 45 minutes. It's right in the middle of the day, so it's so much easier to get to sometimes in those late evening performances. And you can bring your own lunch, or you can pre-order from their caterer, so that's a really fun experience. I wanted to make sure to include the Mesa Art Center and the Phoenix Art Museum. These are two organizations that have really robust creative aging programming. The Mesa Art Center offers a variety of classes for adults in their on-site studios, including acting, ceramics, dance, drama, drawing, jewelry, printmaking, painting, and more. They just have a whole wealth of classes going on. So if you want to get out there and start making with other people, that's a great resource. The Phoenix Art Museum also has two programs. One is called their Arts Engagement Program. It's actually a program that engages adults with mild to moderate dementia and their care partners with the visual arts. So it blends facilitated conversations around artworks in the collection that aid in triggering memories and strengthening observational skills and focus. And then Arts All Around Us through the Phoenix Art Museum is an enrichment program where museum-trained volunteers provide presentations about the visual arts to seniors in the community, and docents present talks at not-for-profit senior community centers, senior living facilities, and other venues serving predominantly senior populations. And then finally, I wanted to make sure that we included Trust Your Creativity, which is Shirley's workshop, and the WHAM Community Arts Center, which is a nonprofit organization providing arts experiences across generations and special needs of elders and veterans in the West Valley community. So I'm just going to let Shirley tell you a little bit more about Trust Your Creativity.
Well, the charming young lady who's been interviewing me raised the question a moment ago about the fear of creativity. What are we really afraid of? It's that sense within ourselves that somehow we can't and that we've been criticized. And I wasn't completely joking when I said we need permission to make bad art. We just have to start and get past that. What does creativity suggest? It suggests imagination, inspiration, perseverance, productivity, doubt, picking oneself up, resiliency, and just being open to try. Just be open to try. That's all that really is needed for this workshop. We do dream work, journaling, art, poetry, use music for reflection. I don't expect people to turn into musicians before my eyes. Movement to an extent, and sometimes in surprising ways. And that's what Trust Your Creativity is really about. And also the interaction that we have with one another in the group, because I get affirmations and I can steal ideas. So we put ideas out and people can make lists from other people's ideas and jump off from that. And then the creativity feels like it's in a trusting atmosphere. There's no such thing as a mistake, just a new experience. Would you like me to discuss WHAM a bit too?
I think that we are actually out of time. But as I mentioned, WHAM is an organization out in the West Valley, and they do classes, programs, exhibits, monthly art walks, and special events. So we do encourage you to check them out, as well as all of these other resources. And so, oh, I love it when a slide surprises you. We also just wanted to mention, this is actually a book by Dr. Jean Cohen, who is the primary researcher in this sector. It's called The Creative Age, Awakening Human Potential in the Second Half of Life. And through a combination of personal stories and other research studies, he talks about how the unique combination of age, experience, and creativity can produce exciting inner growth and infinite potential for everyone. So it's a fabulous book and a really good read. So with that, we want to say thank you and take some time for questions. So if you do have any questions, I believe you can use the chat box to submit those to us. And myself or Shirley or Michelle would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. I see some. This is great. I've never used this webinar platform before, and I love that can see that people are typing. There's a question probably for Amy, which is, will a recording of this session be available? And the answer is yes, on Connect 60 Plus, which is Connect and then the number 60 and then plus spelled out .com. I would love to, we had a question earlier about journaling, and we got to that part of the question, but I see that there's a second part about how can we explain how it can be of benefit and the impact. I would say really that, you know, all of these things that we've been talking about have had. And Michelle, if you don't mind, I would love to ask you, as the CEO of Benevilla, someone who is in the aging and healthcare service sector, you know, how do you communicate to your, you know, key stakeholders? How do you communicate to the general public about why creativity and creative aging is so important?
Well, we have actually done some studies just internally too, in terms of assessments of people that we serve in our life enrichment centers, looking at their function and being able to show the changes that have occurred as a result of their involvement in the arts. And recently we had gotten a grant from the local Elks Club to be able to do drumming in all of our centers. And we were able to purchase drums. We did a pre and a post testing. We're able to really show the significant changes in persons' self-awareness and how they were feeling emotionally. And so there's a variety of ways, but it is so important to be able to share that. And the other thing is, we've recently started giving opportunities for the people we serve to be able to show their art in a public setting, mm-hmm. and be able to sell their art. And some of their work is being sold, and it's so affirming, and it gives them excitement about being able to create creative work, artwork. So that's been another way to kind of affirm that. And I think a lot of our stakeholders in the community are seeing that, and they're seeing it as a therapeutic way to be able to serve people that really truly improve quality of life.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if there are any other questions from our participant group out there, but if not, I'll turn it back over to Amy.
It's like bumper cars here, in case you can't notice. I do want to thank everyone. We will be sending out a survey. Please do feel free to fill it out. Let us know what ideas you have, what questions you might have, and we'd be more than happy to answer those for you and to be able to take your feedback into account as we plan the next webinar series. So please come back Friday, November 7th at noon. We will have another webinar with Dr. Perrin about managing good relationships with adult children, a topic that's on many people's minds. And so please do join us. And also feel free to visit connect60plus.com for an archiving of this webinar session as well as all of our previous webinar sessions. And feel free to send that information on to your peers and to your colleagues and to your friends and family. Again, this webinar series is part of the Greater Phoenix Age Friendly Network, and thanks to funding just received from Grant Makers and Aging and Pfizer Foundation, we will be expanding statewide, and we will be henceforth known as the Arizona Age Friendly Network. So again, thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. We don't see any other questions. If you have questions in the future, please give us a call at 602-254-6300. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a wonderful weekend.